Hey everybody, it's your boy Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the #1 show coming to you live in America. And speaking about America, today I have a very dynamic speaker, Mr. Mike Shelah, a cybersecurity specialist. And he's a number of different things, a number of different professions and expertise and boards. And this man is absolutely incredible. Mike Shelah is the Director of Marketing and Business Development for Advantage Industries, Inc., a cybersecurity, compliance, and managed service provider in Columbia, MD. Since 1999, Mike has worked with business owners in the Mid-Atlantic region to help them solve their technology problems. A self-proclaimed LinkedIn nerd, and it's true, he's a LinkedIn, I call him a LinkedIn guru, because Mr. Mike has also spoken in front of thousands of college students and business professionals about leveraging the power of LinkedIn for sales and the job market. Like I told you guys, very diverse man. Mr. Mike is also a husband and a father. And in the community, Mike volunteers with multiple associations and currently serves on a board of directors with Pathfinders For Autism. Today, we have on Gentleman Style Podcast, the amazing, the incredible Mr. Mike Shelah. Yay!
Marcus, I don't think I can live up to that. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for being on the show, brother. You are incredible. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving up your time. We appreciate you. Mr. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself. That bio is, I could read that all day long. You are extensive, brother.
Yeah. So you're right. As we talked backstage before the show started, I've done a lot. And I graduated from college in 1995, and I had a bunch of different sales jobs for several years. And in 1999, I got my first taste of technology sales, specifically on the telecom side of the business. Telephone service, internet access, long distance, back when people still paid for that. And through the years, I worked for bigger and bigger companies. And probably about 6 years ago, I started working for a telecom company that had also bought some IT assets. So they had their own data center, they had their own help desk center, they could do cybersecurity compliance audits, all the techie, nerdy, geeky stuff. And when I had the opportunity to start selling that to business owners, that was when I caught the bug, because I felt like telephone service is, it's like your electric bill. It's so commoditized that people are just basically looking for the best price, and you don't really solve problems. But when you talk technology, when you talk servers, when you talk cloud, when you talk help desk, you talk cybersecurity, you're solving problems. And that's what makes you valuable to a customer. And that was just a big excitement for me. And getting the opportunity to join the Advantage Industries team and become the Director of Marketing and Business Development allowed me to take my love for LinkedIn and my passion for sales and meld them into one entity. And it's been an amazing ride.
It's been an incredible ride, and I've followed your story and your history throughout the years, and you're a phenomenal guy. Just if you guys ever have a chance to check out Mr. Mike Shelah on LinkedIn, his profile is there is no word for it. It's incredible. And his presence is very dominating. It's unique, right? Even when he converses with you, it's not the typical happy birthday. It's happy birthday. What can I do to serve you? And that was what sets him apart in everything Mr. Mike Shelah touches. So diving right in, cybersecurity.
Yep.
What makes someone a target, or more importantly, what makes a business a target for being attacked?
So here's the truly scary thing about cybercrime is only about 20% of it is a targeted attack. For your listening audience, a couple months ago, a Russian hacker went after Elon Musk and the Tesla people. And he did it in a very unique manner. He knew that Tesla had quality cybersecurity. They had done all the right things to protect their business, So this Russian hacker went after one of his employees and said, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you take this little key fob and upload it onto a computer in your network. Now, this employee, being a smart and dedicated employee, told the hacker yes, and immediately went to Mr. Elon Musk and said, hey, I was approached and offered $1 million to load this onto the network. So they set up a sting. They coordinated with the FBI, and the FBI caught the hacker as he was trying to fly out of New York back to Russia. Now, stereotypes aside for what I just described, that's really the exception. That makes up only about 20% of hacking. Cybercrime is alive and well and vibrant because the cyber criminals really don't have to try that hard. When you think about all of the things that happen on a daily basis, here's the problem. In the paper, we read about all the big hacks, right? Target gets breached. P.F. Chang gets breached. Baltimore County Public Schools are shut down. Baltimore City is shut down. Those are the things that make the paper. But for every Target article that gets written, there are 1,000 small businesses that were shut down because they were hacked and they couldn't they couldn't afford the remediation, or the burden of paying reparation to everybody that was affected bankrupted them. That's the simple truth of it. There's 1,000 of those areas. By the way, the Target hack that happened a few years ago, you know what caused that?
I don't.
A hacker had infiltrated the HVAC company that Target used. Now, Target wasn't the target. The company Target was not the target of the hack.
Wow.
This hacker just got this Trojan horse on the HVAC company's invoicing system. So it went out to every customer this HVAC company had, and Target just happened to be one of them.
Wow. I remember that.
And that's the thing is, I came up with this analogy. So if you've ever been downtown in any city, there's always that shady person standing on the corner that looks like a criminal, right? There's always one. And depending on the neighborhood you're in, sometimes there's 10.
10 or 1. 10
or more. So if you think about that person, they're really not that different from the hacker. If they're going to break into a car, they're looking for older cars. They're looking for cars that don't have great security systems. They're looking for cars that don't have people in them. Right. They're looking for easy targets. They're looking for easy prey. And so many businesses are easy prey. So I'll tell you a personal story. Just happened to me last week. I have a concussion as a result of an accident from several years ago. And for the most part, I treat it, and it doesn't bother me. But it came roaring back a couple weeks ago. It gives me terrible headaches, can't do anything. So I contacted my concussion doctor. And they said, okay, well, we need you to fill out these forms online because it's that time. Time to fill out your forms again. And so step number 1, they emailed me the forms through a non-encrypted email. That's bad.
What?
They're asking me for personal health. Now, this is not a little mom and pop doctor. This is not, Bob Smith and his wife, Angela Smith, doctors. This is a major regional healthcare facility. They have over a dozen hospitals. They have over 10,000 employees. They have their own IT department. They have their own cybersecurity department, and they're not using encrypted emails. On top of that, they asked me for my social security number. So here's a tip for everybody listening to this show. The next time you go to the doctor's office, that form they ask you to fill out will have a slide on it for your social security number. Do not give it to them. They have absolutely no doctor's office, not a one, has a reason to have your social security number. What they used to use it for was a filing system. Back in the day when people didn't steal social security numbers to get credit cards and buy cars and houses and boats and all that, the doctors would simply use your social security number as your ID.
Okay.
It was easier for them because they knew it was unique to you. And they have never gotten out of that habit.
But that's not the case today. That's not required today with all.
It hasn't been required for decades, but they still all ask for it. And it's very dangerous to just, especially if they're going to ask you to email it to them through a non-encrypted email.
Wow. So I don't have to provide my social security number at my doctor's office when filling out that form. I had no idea.
Nope.
This is mind-blowing. That's incredible. Hey, y'all, we have Mr. Mike Shelah from Get Advantage Plus, Security Plus. He's here today to educate us. He's a man of many hats, but today he is helping us peel back the onion on cybersecurity. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Hello, everybody. This is Marcus Norman, Gentleman Style Podcast. If you are just tuning in, we have the Director of Marketing and Business Development for Advantage Industries, Inc. Mr. Mike Shelah is spilling all the tea, maybe not all the tea, but a lot of tea today on cybersecurity and how businesses and us can protect ourselves. And he just disclosed how Target was actually targeted. Back
Not targeted. Targeted was not targeted.
It was not targeted, but ended up being targeted through the HVAC company that they employed, and how all our information was spilled out there. Mr. Mike, tell us how did you get into cybersecurity, and what does someone need in order to get into cybersecurity to defend our country?
I entered it through sales. I've been in technology sales since 1999. And working for a telecom company that also sold cybersecurity services was my first step in. And now the company I'm with, Advantage Industries, all we do is IT and cybersecurity. And specifically on that, we do compliance. So here's the difference. Cybersecurity is rules, guidelines, best practices, firewalls, things like that. Right. Compliance is a governing body saying, here's what we need you to do to be compliant in our industry. And perhaps the most famous one that people are aware of is HIPAA, HIPAA, which is for healthcare. For credit cards, it's PCI. There is a national governing standard that's called NIST, N-I-S-T, and that's the grandfather of all compliance. That lays out all the best practices. Now, the problem with all of these different compliance guidelines is that they are what they call self-reporting, which means that you as a business owner don't get in trouble until there's been a breach. And the United States government, for the first time, has made a significant change to that model. The Department of Defense, about 2 years ago, started building a program called the Cyber Maturity Model Certification, CMMC. And what they have done with this is a list, so it's based off of that NIST that I just mentioned, the NIST, and it added another 30 guidelines, 30-ish. They're still nailing down all the details. But in order to do business with the DoD in 2021, you're going to need this cyber maturity model certification or show that you're working on it. And that is a paradigm change in how we do business in the United States. Because while a client, if a big box company says, okay, well, if you're going to do business with us, we need to know how you protect your client data. We need a write-up of. So we hear that from time to time. And if you don't do that, then you don't get a chance to bid. But the DoD is going to say, okay, in order to bid on this RFP, enter your certification number.
Ooh. And if you don't have one,
then you don't bid. So all these government contractors out there, and here in the Mid-Atlantic, and you're in the extended Mid-Atlantic in your part of Virginia, there's a lot of government contractors because we're all a stone's throw from Washington, D.C.
True.
And they're putting the strange thing is most of what they're asking you to do really isn't terribly unreasonable. For example, do you have a firewall?
Right.
Now, that seems like an obvious thing, but I cannot tell you how many small businesses I walk into that don't have a firewall. Or they think, oh, well, it's in my router that I have from Comcast. No.
Not at all.
It's not. Well, I have Windows Defender on my laptop. That's a firewall, right? Sorta. But hackers can eat that thing for breakfast.
Wow.
And the good news is for a small business owner, you got 10 employees, maybe you have less, you can get a quality firewall for under $2,000. So why don't you do it? That's not a massive capital investment in your business.
Right.
So why aren't they doing it? I think one, because they don't know. One, they don't know that they need one. And two, they think it's going to be way more money. I think those are two big issues. I had a conversation with a gentleman that owns a government contracting. They're an engineering company. And he said to me, yeah, I use the Gmail suite. I use Google Docs and I use Gmail. I know that's not compliant, but I haven't been forced to switch to Microsoft yet, which is approved on CMMC. So, little things like that. Multi-factor authentication. This is the easiest thing a business owner can set up. Basically, the first time you log into your email, you will get a text message on your phone with a code. Now, if any of you have ever used Amazon, Amazon does the same thing. Yeah. And it's really smart because that way people can't just hack into your account and start buying stuff.
For the holidays.
Yeah. Microsoft has the same thing. So that people can't just hack into your Microsoft account and pretend to be you.
Banks use it as well.
Banks use it. Well, imagine that. People that are concerned about losing money have good security.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And what are some other vulnerabilities that you've seen in your firewalls? Businesses are not initiating firewalls. What are some
not at the rate they should be?
I'm
meeting too many companies that don't have one or have one that's out of date.
So a firewall expires. This is not a one and done thing. It has to be maintained.
Think about it this way. You're using a computer, right?
Right.
That is less than 10 years old, probably less than 5 years old, right?
Yes.
Now, part of the reason is because technology has moved along. Things have gotten faster. We couldn't do what we're doing right now on a computer that was 10 years old. It wouldn't be powerful enough. So that's part of it. And firewalls are the same way. As time goes by, you need to replace them periodically. And part of that is one of the other things that people miss out on is they don't update, they don't patch their computers. I'm an iPhone user. I don't know what you have.
Have an iPhone? Yes, sir.
So you that little gray box, the little gray settings box, every 6 months or so, you get a little red one in there that says it's time to update your operating system, right?
Right.
So what that update is doing, it's giving you some features, it's giving you some new emojis, it's giving you junk like that. Yeah, it does that. But it's improving security. It's fixing flaws. It's making your phone more secure. And it's not just your iPhone, but your Macs will do that. Your Windows computers will do that. Servers do that. Firewalls do that. So once you buy a device, you just want to make sure you're updating it on a regular basis. And that's another place where particularly small business owners miss out. They're not on a regular cadence to, one, update their equipment, and two, keep it patched and managed.
Wow. So don't deny. I know several people that actually decline those updates because I know people, and it's shocking to me why they do it. And part of it is they don't want to, they're part of the age of media where they don't want all their information out there, and they feel these updates are giving them access, because we don't read those disclosures sometimes. I personally don't read all the disclosures like, hey, view the terms of agreement. I don't read those. I just click and I hit update. But others feel like if I'm giving them permission to some of my data that I don't want to have on my
So
personal contacts.
here's a little more ugly truth. They already have it. They already. I won't say her name, but the female on your Apple phone is listening right now. Now they say she's not listening. Okay, well, in order for her to recognize her name, she has to be listening.
Ooh.
She has to.
Ooh.
Now they can make it so that everything other than that is all immediately discarded and deleted, but there's a moment where it's still happening. The same thing with the Amazon brand, the same thing with the Google brand. Anything that you talk to is listening. One of my wife's coworkers made some comment about, I don't want my information out there. So I plugged in her first, last name, and her phone number. And I pulled up a report and I showed it to my wife and I said, show this to her.
Right.
I found out all of this in about 30 seconds. And
wow.
my wife looked at me and goes, that's on the public internet? I'm like, yep. Google yourself sometime. It's quite humbling.
And scary. We have a question from the audience. I'm gonna bring it up here. Miss Daniel Clark. She asked, so is that how places like Target get hacked, is due to mismanagement of firewalls? Like, would that HVAC company would have not been able to get in if they had a proper firewall in place?
That certainly could have been a factor. Now, I love that you started the show about peeling off the layers of the onion, because cybersecurity is layers. And I forget the name of the company a couple of weeks ago, but they're a huge cybersecurity company for the government, and they got hacked. Now, they probably got hacked because they were a target. They are part of that 20% we talked about earlier. Somebody was actively going after them. And you get to a point where, if somebody wants your data, they're going to know. But yeah, the Target thing wasn't their fault. And the moment Target was aware of it, they were able to lock it down in less than 24 hours. But they still hemorrhaged millions of records equating to billions of dollars.
And your company keeps us in compliance. Your company keeps businesses in compliance. What is that? Through ongoing training, or do your company personally manages the security systems in place in that organization, in that business?
It's a few things, and you touched on a couple of them. It's certainly the right technology. It's having the right computers, the right servers, the right cloud environments, the right firewalls, the right wireless access devices. I was working with a logistics company back in 2019, and as sales so often do, the conversation was moving and then it went cold. And then one day I get a call back from the CIO, and he says to me, hey, Mike, why don't you and Russell come in? Russell's my engineer. He's my right-hand man. He basically makes sure the technology I sell actually does what I say it's supposed to do.
Good man.
Yeah, he's the smart one, definitely. So
you're smart too.
Russell and I go into this meeting, and we're meeting with the CIO of this big logistics company. And he explains to us that his office in New Mexico had been ransomware. And they were tired of this sort of thing happening. And not 5 minutes later, one of the guys from his team walks in and says, hey, Bill, you remember those IP cameras we bought for our California office? He said, yeah. He goes, oh, apparently they have firmware in them that's sending our IP information back to Korea. Out of the box. They came out of the box that way.
What? So but you caught that. You found that.
No, he found that. He hadn't hired us yet. And when we did our initial assessment for his company, there was no surprise he was having all these issues. They had, I think, 40 servers, and 20 of them were running operating systems that Microsoft had stopped supporting 5 years ago, which means they weren't getting patched anymore. They weren't getting updated anymore, which meant that they were vulnerable to cybercrime.
Wow. My audience, guys, we have the incredible, the amazing, the superfragilistic expialidocious Mr. Mike Shelah, and he is helping us protect our business from cybercrime. This is impactful. You're not going to get this anywhere else except with Mr. Mike's company or on the Gentleman Style Podcast show. Today, we are going to go to one more quick commercial break. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and we appreciate you. We'll see you guys soon.
Are you a local business looking to offer your customers easy access to cash without having to travel miles? We're here to help. At Norman Legacy Investments, we provide free ATMs with free installation that provide a suitable investment for your business. Even better, we offer you some profit sharing and handle everything from start to finish. Just reach out to us today to schedule a free consultation.
Hey, everybody, this is Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast, the number one show coming to you live in America. And today we have the director of marketing and business development for Advantage Industries, Inc., teaching us, helping us protect our small business from cyber crime. There is a war going on, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is a war going on, and it's with our information, and we have to get to a better place. And Mr. Mike Shelah and his company is helping us learn how to protect our homes and our businesses. Previously, he just shared with us who are the targets, what makes a company a target, and what his company does to protect us. Mr. Shelah, what are the newest and latest methods of attacks that we need to be more aware of? The Trojan horses? Is it these spam emails where it's like, send us your credit card information and we need to update your bank account because it's out of date and we're gonna take you to the IRS? Help us. What's the new attacks on the scene now?
Yeah, and you just touched on probably the most significant part of cybercrime. Generally speaking, technology out there is pretty good. If you get a firewall, you're now miles ahead of your competition. Get a wireless access point that's properly configured. The technology is good. Where the hackers spend most of their time is the biggest flaw, which is people. And you alluded to a couple of them right there. So ransomware happens one of two ways. For a business, ransomware is, I've locked up your server, give me X amount of dollars, or I'm going to destroy your data. And they've now taken that a step farther, because one of the things that we'll institute for a client is a full backup of their data. So if you're my client, you get ransomware and somebody threatens you with that. Okay, I've got a full backup of everything. You might lose yesterday's data, but the other 99.9%
is safe.
Oh, so hackers have gotten smart about that. And they've said, okay, you're going to give us the money that we want, or we're going to publish all of your data. We're going to make it public. We're just going to put it out there. Anybody that wants it can come get it. And there is a part of the internet that is known as the dark web. And people are probably passingly familiar with that phrase. Most of the time they think that's where, hitmen hide out and, where kiddie porn goes. And that's not untrue.
Right.
But again, think of a city. Every city has the beautiful touristy place where everyone goes. And every city has that road where, the drug dealers go and where the criminals go. And that's the dark web. And so they'll sell information on there. So they'll say, hey, I got this guy's credit card information, or I have this company's username or password. What do you pay me in cryptocurrency so that I can give this to you? So there's a lot of that. So the ransomware is a challenge. The other ransomware is, and this stuff works because they keep sending it. You'll get an email from someone that says, hey, I hacked into your webcam and I caught you doing something naughty. And I'll leave it at that.
Right.
If you don't pay me, I'm going to publish it.
Ugh.
And they go a step further and they say, don't believe me? Click the link. I'll show you the proof I have. So if you have done something naughty in front of your computer, that probably makes you sweat for a minute. And that's what they're hoping. That's what they're banking on. Because they actually don't have anything until you click that link.
Wow. They just got me.
Once the person clicks that link, that's giving them access to the computer and they can go and mine it. They can put in a keylogger. Keyloggers are very popular with cyber criminals. Basically, if they can install that piece of software on your computer, they literally log everything that you're typing. So you go into Amazon and you type your username and password. They now have a keylogger. You log into your work email. They now have a keylogger. You log into your bank. Now have a keylogger. So that's how a lot of them will go about doing those things. So the best thing that even a small business owner, and the best part is the smaller your company is, the less expensive this is. Even for a big company, it's not terribly expensive, is get cybersecurity training. But don't just, because it's like $2 a person a month. It's very inexpensive. And what you'll do is, what we do is, we send out a fake phishing email. So we send out an email that looks very convincing and it looks very real. And we try to persuade people to click on links or log in or do something like that. And we usually catch 20 to 30% of a staff. When
the staff?
Yes.
And that's due to lack of training.
That's due to lack of training. Or they think it's a real email. And then we also, almost immediately after that, they will get a 10-minute video with like a 5-question quiz. So we do those things, and then we go back to the customer. We say, okay, Mr. Customer, we ran the phishing scam on your staff, and 20% of your staff clicked on the link when they shouldn't have. We also ran the quiz, and 70% of them passed the quiz. 20% of them failed the quiz, and 10% didn't bother to take the quiz. So those people that failed the quiz and those people that didn't take the quiz, we're going to have a follow-up just with them and let them know how important this is, how serious this is. And I have friends who are cybersecurity people, professionals for their business. And they will put in, hey, if you don't take a test 2 months in a row, you will be fired. If this is part of your job, you have to take. Now, if you fail it, that's okay. We'll educate you. We'll train you. But you ignore these emails, you will be fired. And some have had to do that because people just aren't taking this seriously.
Wow. Mr. Shelah, you brought up a very strong point, and I think it needs to be talked about, and I'm hoping you can help my audience. You can help us. Cryptocurrency. It's a new kid on the block, right? People are using it. Relatively new on the block. People are using it for investment purposes, but others say this is the new currency. But here on the show, I want to ask you, is cryptocurrency truly safe? Is it a safe?
It's as safe as anything else.
Okay. Or should I just keep it in cash?
Here's what I'll say. And this is not an area of expertise for me, but it's an area that I have some familiarity with. Your typical bank uses an encryption that is X amount of characters long, and each bank's going to be a little different. But, it's usually around 256 string characters, which is long, right?
Right, that's long.
So a hacker has to really want to get your data to get it. And cryptocurrency was sort of co-created with blockchain. And the idea behind blockchain is that it's taking that 256 and just taking it to the nth degree. I mean, that's an oversimplification, and I'm missing a lot of details. But that's the idea behind it. And it's not formalized, it's not standardized, it's not regulated. So that's why criminals tend to like it.
That makes sense. And thank you for that. I appreciate you taking the time to help us. Another unique thing that was just implemented recently, all businesses were affected by this, is having to update their point of sale devices to accept chips
Or
on
not.
your debit or not.
Or not.
But they were going to be penalized if they didn't update their point of sale device.
Penalized by who?
That was the stigma. I haven't seen any.
Let's break that down for a second. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yes,
so
sir.
Glad you brought that up. All right. Credit card cybersecurity guidelines fall under what's called PCI. That is the industry standard for credit card accounts. That is a self-reporting standard. So, if, again, think of what I said with the DOD and CMMC. That's the government stepping in and saying, okay, we're tired of this. Not going to happen anymore. Government hasn't said that about credit cards. So, yes, you're right. They made this, everybody has to be chip enabled. So why is it that 30% of stores you walk into still have swipe only? And big stores.
Right.
I'm forgetting which ones, and they probably wouldn't like me saying their name on the air, so I'll leave them out. But there are still plenty of big stores, national chains. That, right. Oh, I'm sorry, chip doesn't work. We haven't enabled it yet.
Right.
What? You haven't enabled it yet. Now, if they required the point of sale vendors, hey, you can't sell that. Anything you have out on the market, you have to recall, or we're going to hold you responsible. It'd be fixed like that. But they haven't done that. And again, you don't get in trouble until somebody goes, excuse me, sir, we had a breach. Turns out that it was your point of sale machine and responsible for that breach. So we're now going to open your books.
But it's too late. It's too late. Now my business is held responsible for all the losses that occurred and probably even future losses if it continues.
Yes. Now, for those that have done the right things, the penalty is less severe. Because again, like I said, if they want your data, they can get it.
Right.
If they try hard enough and they're persistent enough, most criminals won't do that because there's enough low-hanging fruit to just go out and cherry pick and get all the data they want.
It's true. It's true. It as we move forward to the future and as we progress, thank you for peeling back that onion. Thank you, Mr. Rashad. That helped me, brother. That question in cryptocurrency, I've been wanting to ask an expert in the field for a long time, and Mr. Mike Shelah is here. He's serving us and he's helping us understand how we have failed in protecting our companies. Mr. Mike, what is a VPN and why is that important in protecting my business?
Virtual private network. So think about it this way. If you are in an office, you have 10 employees, all those computers can talk to each other in the office. They are running on what's called a local area network. So all those computers can talk to each other. You don't need internet to do that because they're all plugged into wires or that go into a wall. And most offices are wireless now, and they run through wireless access points, but you get the idea.
Yes, sir.
The VPN has become very important since COVID hit because it used to be you had a computer, you had a server, computer would talk to server sits in office, computer sits in office. There's no issue of security. Now I'm sitting at home. I have to access the server at my office. Maybe I'm doing payroll. Maybe I'm doing HR. Maybe I'm doing client billing. All of that. Well, how do I get to that information? Remember earlier, I got a non-encrypted email from the doctor's office.
Right.
A VPN is literally extending through encryption your connection from wherever you are back to that office or that server. So when people use the cloud, a business has virtual data centers, for example. That data is traveling over basically a big virtual private network connection, a VPN. That's an oversimplification. That's essentially what it's doing.
No, that's what I need simple.
Yeah. It's encrypting information going from one point to another. And for a small business in this COVID environment where we have lots of people working from home or logging in from a Starbucks, I used to do that all the time.
Right.
Now, getting my oil changed, I'll answer some emails.
Right.
Use the VPN to log in, keep everything safe, keep everything secure.
So a VPN coupled with a good firewall and coupled with
can't do one without the other.
That
was one of the big changes we saw when COVID hit. Companies had these firewalls that were doing a great job with one point in going to all the computers. Now their firewall wasn't set up to handle all these VPNs at once. Now I've got 10 people, 20 people working from home. So I got to make sure I have all the licenses set up. Do I have enough internet so that people can come in and out all day long?
Wow. This is Gentleman Style Podcast, y'all. This is your host, Marcus Norman, with the incredible, amazing Mr. Mike Shelah, director of Get Advantage. And he is Get Advantage Industries. And he is incredible. And he's just, this information, you can't, well, you can pay for this. You absolutely pay for this. But he's giving us some insight as to why we need to protect our business. If you are just tuning in, please like, share, and subscribe. We're on all major platforms: iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and all major platforms where audio and visual can be found. But Mr. Mike Shelah is helping us today. If a company, and this, I want to piggyback on this question from earlier. Ms.
Sure.
Shanique Henry asked the question, if the customer reports a fraudulent activity for a purchase, will the business not get paid for the sale if they have no chip reader?
Ooh, you have officially moved out of my area of expertise. Here's what I can tell you. When it comes to credit card processing and point of sale machines, the company, Toast is a really popular one for small businesses.
Yes.
The terms and conditions that Toast put out protect Toast. They don't protect the end vendor. If the end vendor wants to sign up for additional security, they can, and then Toast will help them with that, and it insulates the end vendor. So again, Bob's Coffee Shop uses Toast, so that you go in and you buy your latte on Friday mornings. They offer a service to provide you enhanced security and protection in the event of a breach. But 95% of businesses don't opt for it because it costs more money.
So I still need your company to come in because Toast isn't going to protect my business from cyber.
They're not going to do it automatically, no. And even if they do, that's a piece of the security. It's not everything. I tell people that when you're really looking at protecting your data, because by protecting your data, you're not only protecting your business, but you're protecting your clients and you're protecting your brand.
Absolutely.
So you need a company like us. You need real cybersecurity insurance, not an addendum that goes on your basic business plan. There are cybersecurity insurance specialists that will write it based on, think about it, it's like your car. They don't just insure the car, they insure the type of car and how far do you drive and are you married and did you graduate? They ask you all these questions to factor what your insurance is going to cost. Cybersecurity insurance is the same way. Well, how big is your company? How many PCs do you have? You know, how many wireless access points do you have? How many firewall? All those things, so that it's accurate.
Yes, sir.
Now, in the event of a breach, the first thing the cybersecurity insurance does is they say, okay, you want to file a claim. When was the last time you had an independent audit to verify that you were doing everything the way that you're supposed to be doing it? Oh, you've never had one. Okay, well, guess what? We're going to run one, and we're going to see that it matches everything that's in your insurance policy. And if it doesn't, then we're not paying.
Oh, no.
Guess how often that works? Like 90% of the time. Insurance companies don't have to pay because, oh, well, you installed a new wireless access point that you didn't tell us about. And guess what? That wireless access point still had the default password out of the box. And hackers know that. So they were able to get into your system. That's how they got in. So we're denying your claim.
No.
Yes.
No. Oh my gosh. So here's my question. I
Sure.
own and operate a ATM business.
Mhm.
How do I improve the security posture of my business as an ATM owner?
Wow. That is not a question we can answer in 5 minutes. It's really going
3,000 foot view.
Yeah. So if I'm approaching you as a client, the first thing I'm going to look at is how are those ATM machines connected to the banks? Like what internet connection do they have?
Wireless.
Who's paying for that internet connection?
Me.
What level of encryption does it have on it? You don't know.
Don't know.
So that's where I start. That's the first thing that I start. A friend of mine actually got a patent for biometrics. And one of the industries that he thinks has a keen viability for this is ATMs.
That's the thumbprint or facial recognition or the eyeball thing, or
It does thumbprint. I believe it does eyeball as well. I know it does thumbprint. I believe it does eyeball as well.
wow.
And he's patented rugged machines. So machines that can endure bad weather, extreme heat, extreme cold, gunshots, things like that. Because that's the next layer of security to protect people. But that's where I would start. I would also look at the vendor that you're getting the machines from. I would find out what they claim is their liability, what they claim is your liability, and what's the gap in between. Because that's the important part. What's the gap in between? And that's where the cyber and security insurance comes in, becomes an important part. And then in addition to that, you want to have a relationship with an attorney that has expertise in cybersecurity. You might even want to have a retainer, just because when things go wrong, you're going to want them to represent you. And the last thing that you would want in this sort of quartet is you're going to want a relationship with a PR professional. Because when something like this happens, guess what one of the requirements is?
The media coverage and
You have to publicly tell people.
Yeah.
You have to publicly tell people, hey, we made a mistake. And you want somebody that has experience giving bad news to give the bad news and tell you how to give the bad news.
True. Very true. Wow. Oh my gosh. Ooh, I got chills. Okay. Thank you. That helps me. And I am completely, this all sounds expensive, Mr. Shelah. This sounds incredibly expensive. How affordable is it for a small business to contact your company and implement these cybersecurity measures today? Is there a budget? Is it one size fits all? Should my business be to a certain point before I contact you? Because what's the metric?
The size certainly impacts the monthly recurring. But as I mentioned earlier, a small business owner can get a firewall for less than $2,000. You can set up multi-factor authentication for free. You don't even need me for that. You can sign up for antivirus. The paid versions of things like Malwarebytes and things like that aren't bad. There are professional grade ones that'll cost you just a little bit more money. So yes, I can come in and I can be a managed service provider and I can provide you a compliance audit. And those things do get expensive. But if you budget for them, the way that we approach our clients is we want to minimize the bumps in the road. So think about it. You have a car. I don't know about you, but I love my car.
I love my car.
So if you take care of your car, you rotate the tires, oil changes, things like that, the likelihood that something's going to go wrong is much less.
True.
So yes, you're paying for the new tires and the oil changes and all of those things. But the likelihood that something's going to break goes down substantially.
True.
And it's the same thing in our space. And I know that's an odd comparison, but I take it a step further. Not only do we make sure that your car's running properly, but we make sure that the road in front of you is paved with fresh asphalt. So you don't have to worry about hitting that pothole. Now, I can't guarantee that you won't slide off the road from time to time because there are humans involved here.
Right.
I can never guarantee that. But what I can do is I can make sure that instead of that happening once a week, maybe it's once a year or once every 2 years. And having a breach will always cost you more money. Getting an auditor to come and audit your systems after a breach always costs more than having them do the audit before a breach. Because they'll come back to you and say, you have to do these 5 things and you have to get them done in the next 90 days. And you're going, holy smokes, where do I come up with $100,000? But if I'm working with you and say, okay, Marcus, we have these 5 things that we're going to have to address. Let's handle these 2 in the first quarter. Let's handle these 2 in the second quarter. Let's handle these 2 in the third quarter. And we'll come up with ways to, make it less impactful to your cash flow and let your business thrive.
Love that. Love that. This is incredible. Mr. Shelah, what books would you recommend that every man or woman should read?
We could do a show just on books, Marcus.
You're an avid reader.
Yeah. I am a book nerd as well. So I am terribly fond of books that make you question your perspective. So my all-time favorite, I'm a huge Dr. Stephen Covey fan. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and all the books that he wrote. Hands down, some of my favorites. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I love that book because it comes with a quiz. And you will never be more humbled in your life than when you get that score back the first time you take the quiz.
Emotionally intelligent people.
Yep. And I'm a big fan of Malcolm Gladwell. He's written a series of books. Outliers, is Talking to Strangers, Blink. Oh my goodness, read Blink. He wrote one about the paradox of David and Goliath. He breaks down the parable of David and Goliath and said, Goliath never stood a chance, and here's why. And that just makes you shift your perspective. And that's all those authors. That's what they all have in common is they force you to shift your perspective.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love those. I have the book in my Audible account of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I have not read it, but I need to now. Now that you said it, it's confirmed. I have to do it now.
Yeah, I have that one hard copy and Audible. I've probably read it 3 times and I probably listened to it a dozen times.
You learn something new every time.
Every time. Every time.
I love a good book. Who are your heroes and why?
Who are my heroes? It's funny. I got asked this question on a job interview. I was interviewing to be promoted to sales manager. And I looked at the person interviewing me. I said, does it have to be a real person? And he, the other person in the room chuckled, goes, I know exactly who he's going to say. I said, yeah, you probably do. And I said it was Superman. And so in addition to all my other nerddoms, I'm a devout comic book geek. And here's why I love Superman so much. He could literally rule the planet if he chose to. And he realizes I'm too powerful to do that. I can do so much more good by serving others with my powers. And this was pointed out to me a few years ago. Every other superhero, the costume is their disguise. But for Superman, his disguise is Clark Kent. He's not really Clark Kent. He really is Superman. And that's how he fits into the world. So that is my figurative hero.
I love that. I love that. That's I needed that. I needed to hear that. That's a good reminder, and that's a good point. Well, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
I love that.
That's Spider-Man, but yes, same idea.
Yep, same idea. I'm with you. I'm with you. How do you give back to the community? Or what's your favorite way to give back to the community?
Well, you mentioned earlier on that I'm involved with several nonprofits. There's three that are technically very close to my heart. The first one is Pathfinders For Autism. So I have a 15-year-old son on the autism spectrum, and I got involved with them as a volunteer about 9 years ago, and I've been serving on their board of directors now for 6 years. And it means the world to me for very personal reasons. I have two very good friends in Baltimore City that own a nonprofit called Love and Lunches. And they started giving away lunches every Sunday to a group of homeless people that live under the Jones Falls Expressway in Baltimore about 6 years ago. And they're up to giving away like 200 lunches every Sunday.
Wow.
And I love what they're doing because they're giving back to the community. They're encouraging friends like me to help, whether that's financially. You know, I've kicked in a few bucks every time they have something going on. But I've actually gone down there. I've helped them bag lunches. I've helped them hand it out. I've helped carry water.
Wow.
I've done that with my wife. I brought my daughter a couple of times. And so Love and Lunches. You got a great Facebook page. Look them up. They're fantastic. I love them. And then the last one is in Columbia, Maryland. It's a company called Canine Humane Network. And it's funny. I have a dog living in my house that's more famous than I am. So I've been a guest on 40 different podcasts. I have my own podcast. I've been on television a dozen times. But my dog, Bruno the Rescue Doodle, had a TikTok video with over 6 million views. So Canine Humane Network posted on Facebook just before COVID hit that they had a litter of dogs from Kentucky that they were rescuing from just god awful environment, and they were looking for homes. And I said, well, let's go get one. Let's go get Bruno. Bruno was horribly underweight.
Wow.
He had a huge abscess wound on the inside of his leg. He was running a fever, and my daughter in particular nursed him back to health. We got the wound healed up.
Yes.
He is now a fat, chubby, happy Labradoodle. He weighs in at 65 pounds. Looks like a giant dust mop running at you. If you go on Instagram, you look up Bruno the Rescue Doodle, you can see the video. The video will move you to tears. My daughter put together this 2-minute long video of the day we brought him home. And, Canine Humane Network in Columbia, Maryland, that's what they're doing every day. I don't get angry about a lot of stuff. When people mistreat an animal, it raises my blood pressure. How can you do this to a creature that by all other accounts just wants to love you unconditionally? How do you do that? And so they're doing amazing work. So that's my trifecta. Those are the three that matter to me.
One of the joys I get and one of the benefits I get of hosting this show is I get to go back and look at these and rewatch these and find these organizations and companies and reach out. So thank you for saying that publicly. That's incredible. Shalonda, thank you for sharing. God bless you and your son. You are incredible. Your son's an amazing man, and he's going to be an amazing man. And thank you for sharing that. A lot of people don't know about the disease. That's why we have to bring awareness. That's why we have to shine a light on the areas that are important. So thank you for sharing that, Ms. Shalana. So, Mr. Mike, thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate you, sir. You have blessed us today. You have blessed me. I want to thank you. And I want to say to you publicly, please don't give up. Please keep doing what you're doing. How can my audience connect with you?
Well, I like to say that I am very Googleable. Once you know how to spell my last name, Shelah. And my email is mshelah@getadvantage.com. The website is getadvantage.com. You will find us on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn business page. You will find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook business page. You will find us on Instagram. We have an Instagram page. We have a Twitter account. As I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a weekly podcast now called Mike and Allison After Hours, and we are on every major platform. So you want a little more of this nerd? Come on over, get your fill of nerd. We talk cybersecurity, we talk IT, we talk human resources, and our audience is the small to medium business owner.
And Superman. Don't forget Superman. Can't forget Superman. Thank you, Mr. Shelah. This is incredible. This is powerful. I appreciate you again for being on the show and taking time out of your busy schedule to help us grow. You've helped me grow, and I am definitely need to implement some things to do better in my business.
In all sincerity, you want to ping me offline, I'll walk you through a few things and get you started in the right direction. I'm glad to do that. I'm glad to do that for anybody listening. No sales pitch. You tell me what's going on. I'll find the resources for you, and I'll show you how a lot of these things can be done low cost, no cost.
Perfect. That is incredible. I will be touching base with you offline. Thank you again, brother. Thank you, sir. Thank you all, my audience, for tuning in today. I hope this message has served you. I hope this interview has helped you. It's helped me. And we have to find a way to connect with Mr. Shelah and his company because he is protecting us from the next 9/11. I like to think of it. The next attack is going to be cyber. It probably won't be a physical. It's going to be in our pockets, in our bank accounts, in our wallets, in our computers. Alexa, shut up. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for tuning in. Like I always say, this is Gentleman Style Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in today. And like I always say, take care of your friends, take care of your families, and take care of business. This is Marcus Norman and Mr. Mike Shelah at Get Advantage at getadvantage.com. Signing off. We thank you. We love you. Bye.